Good evening, Berryessa Union School District community. My name is Perla Rodriguez. I am a communications consultant here on behalf of the Berryessa Union School District, and I'm pleased to welcome you this evening to another important town hall meeting. As you know, the information coming forth regarding a number of different issues related to COVID-19 continues to evolve. There's a lot of change happening, lots of new information, and the Berryessa Union School District team has been working around the clock, literally, to prepare the best planning and process for this coming fall. And we are very pleased tonight to be able to share the latest information. I would like to mention a couple of things before we get started. We will be reviewing comments and questions through our chat box and encourage you to make your comments and questions there. We will be devoting about half of the time of this virtual town hall meeting to a presentation and the remainder of the time to answer as many questions as we can. So thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate your participation. We have well over close to 500 participants, and I'm sure that number will continue to grow as time progresses. Thank you for being here, and also thank you for your participation in the many ways that we've reached out to you through surveys, through our e-blast, through Facebook, all the various channels that we have. We appreciate your input, and this is truly a partnership. So with that, I would like to introduce your superintendent, Dr. Roxanne Fuentes, who will kick off this evening's presentation. Thank you once again.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much again for being here and joining us this evening. Here at Berryessa, we've always been so grateful and appreciative of the support of our community, especially during trying times. And this certainly, we're in a moment that none of us have ever experienced before, and patience is a virtue, and we thank you for your patience with all of us as we try to work together to develop, a strong plan for continuing to educate our children in, a time of so much uncertainty. So today we wanted to just share with you our latest work, our best thinking for today, knowing that there's continual change that continues to happen and will continue to happen as we navigate moving forward. So for this evening, we want to get through some of our slides so we can make as much time for questions this evening. So first and foremost, I just again want to reiterate the 4 areas of planning consideration that our district has prioritized as we think through what are the possibilities, for our children. And first and foremost, way back since March, when our district had to suddenly close our school buildings and shift to teaching and learning in new ways, as we had our support from our board of trustees as well as our staff, was to prioritize health and safety for students, staff, and families, including, well-being for all. And we've continued to be committed by that priority in terms of our thinking as we lay forward our possible plans. Also, along the lines with health and safety is our ability to implement the various safeguards that we know are important for our students and for our staff. And in looking at that, thinking about how those safeguards then wrap around the teaching and learning and equitable services that we need to continue to provide, as well as keeping focused on the social and emotional well-being of our students that we serve. And as I've also have expressed, one thing that we have learned navigating this pandemic is that flexibility and support is key for everyone involved in this process. As we've looked at different instructional models, we also continue to get changing guidance and changing legislation that we have to continue to review and continue to shift, what we do and the approaches that we take. And so just wanting you to know that these have been the 4 pillars that we have used as considerations as we've done our planning. Again, last time we had our town hall, we talked about what the task was for our district action team, and it was to create instructional models across 3 potential scenarios: full distance learning, blended hybrid format, fully reopening our schools. Knowing that we needed to prepare for all models, knowing that our district was going to be asked to be nimble and to be flexible so that we could have a learning plan in place for whatever condition may be presented before us. Since the last time that we met as a community in our town hall, we also received guidance from the Santa Clara County Public Health Department. There was legislation passed by our state legislature, AB 77 and SB 98. So lots of new guidance materials for us to review. And it may seem like that was quite some time ago, but actually it was just 2.5 weeks ago that all of these new guidances were given to us. And we then took a look at them and put them in alignment with the different plans that we had been developing to then determine, what are our best next steps. And of course, around these models, having to look at health and wellness, school and operations, teaching and learning, financial and budget implications, all of those components go into, the planning process, as well as our community involvement and feedback from all of our stakeholders. And again, I won't readdress, but these are the different areas that had to be addressed for each and every instructional model. And then just talking about stakeholder engagement. We know that there is a multiple set of perspectives and lenses as you're dealing with a health pandemic, and we're very cognizant of that and of the differing opinions around those issues. So we did have several groups working on a multitude of plans. We had our district action team, which was comprised of approximately 25 individuals across our school divisions. We had all of our employee association partners involved in that work, our teachers, our support staff, our classified and Teamsters individuals, as well as district administration, school site folks, to really have conversations around instructional programming, safety and operations, and what could be available, as well as other resources when we look at our staff capacity. We also had 2 separate work groups, one for elementary and one for middle school, knowing that with teaching and learning, the needs are different for each set of students, as well as when we look at safety and operations, there's also different facility considerations for elementary and middle. We've also conducted several focus groups during this time. We've had parent focus groups, teacher focus groups, as well as a focus group with students just last week. And we've had community surveys. Back at the end of May, early June. We pushed out another survey late last week. Again, knowing as conditions change, opinions and thoughts around our pandemic change, and we wanted to get timely feedback around those different parameters. And we've begun to have town halls. This is our second town hall to try to reach more individuals in our community to share what our thinking is at this time. And then lastly, knowing that not everyone can join us during a scheduled town hall or be part of all the different task force and different groups that are meeting, we wanted opportunity for our community to be able to ask questions, give suggestions, and we created a Share with BUSD community page. So that way there was a place for people to go to ask questions, share thoughts on their mind, and that's also where we're developing an ongoing FAQ. As I mentioned, there have been several guidance documents that we have received. Locally, we have our Santa Clara County Public Health Department reopening schools guidance document. We have a reopening schools planning document from the Santa Clara County Office of Education. Our CDE, California Department of Education, provided a guidance document, as well as we have all of the various safety documents with CDC, California Department of Public Health, and then of course guidance that continues to evolve at the state level from the state legislature and the governor's office. So quite a bit to consider, and quite a few changes continuing to happen in these arenas. So just again, as we thought about the different instructional models that could be pursued for our students, we did look at our local health guidance from Santa Clara Public Health Department to see their recommendations and requirements, and to know that in our county, what was unique, and that's why this slide is there, is that our county provided two separate guidance documents, one for or guidance guidances for us to review, one for elementary and then one for secondary students, which includes our middle school students. So a different set of parameters that needed to be considered when we thought about what we could best implement for our students as a transition plan for fall 2020. I also wanted to share what we have as our latest results from the survey that we sent out to our families just this past Thursday. And I want to thank all of you for quickly responding to these survey questions. There were only two, and the reason there were only two was because we know, as we said, as more information is learned, as people continue to consider what's best for their households with this evolving pandemic and ever-changing conditions, we know that mindsets change, and we wanted to get another pulse on how our community was feeling. And so as of today, this afternoon, we had almost 3,000 responses. So significantly more responses than what we had in our first survey, which was a little over 2,000. And one of the critical questions, just for us to help gauge what our community's mindset was at this time, was again just asking, what is that readiness level for everyone to send their children back to school? And what we saw here was close to 70% of our community having significant hesitancy and concern, feeling extremely uncomfortable, and also feeling a high level of assurance that at this time, really not wanting to send their children back to school and seeking other options. So the follow-up question to that with our families was asking, you know, regardless of the instructional model we select to transition back to school, would you prefer a distance learning program for your children at this time? And we can go deeper in asking that question more broadly, but for right now, we just wanted to get a sense of that hesitancy from our families and seeking another option, knowing that there's multiple scenarios for us to pursue as we navigate this next school year. And we did see, as we took a look here, that we had 66% of our families say yes, that they would prefer a distance learning program option. So with that, what we then determined was we went back and we shifted gears in terms of our district action team and what they had been working on and where we thought we wanted to transition for the first day of school. And before I describe this phase-in approach, what I want to be sure to be clear about is a few things. One is that conditions are going to continue to change. And if nothing else, you know, we've learned that dealing with the pandemic, we're continually in a state of flux as, you know, as the health data adjust back and forth in our county. We also know that right now, you know, our county and our state has been struggling with where we are under these circumstances. And as we've seen on the news just this week, our governor is also shifting gears, and we anticipate more of that to continue over the next few days and the next few weeks. As a result of that, and also thinking about the critical importance of safety and ensuring that staff is trained in protocols, students and parents have good understanding of what those protocols are, being sure that we have full capacity of procuring all of the equipment and logistics planning that need to go in place for a safety return. We felt that at this time, we did not have that capacity for the first day of school. And so with that understanding, and we'll go into more detail about that, we are proposing that our school district begin in a full distance learning mode for all students at the start of school. And again, I wanted to reiterate that as we worked on our reopening plans, how we start the school year, regardless of the instructional model, does not dictate our entire school year. It is our best thinking for what we can provide at this point in time. And again, also expressing that there's quite a bit of movement happening at the state level, at our county level. We know that there's going to continue to be more guidance over the next week, the next 2 weeks, and we'll have to continue to shift and adjust accordingly. And so when we look at where we can move to get ourselves back to full reopening of schools, back with children, back to the sense of normalcy that we knew prior to March 13th, we know at this point, we don't know when that is going to be. But we want you to know that our commitment is working towards the changing conditions to find ourselves back there when it is allowed and when it is safe to do so. But we have to consider, those safety parameters and the precautions that we're being asked to implement, both at the state and the county level, and to know that we can do that effectively for our students and for our staff. And that goes into our thought process as we move into each phase. And so when we look at phase 1, we're talking about the start of the school year, starting with full distance learning. Then we see gradual phases moving to a phase 4, which brings us back to our pre-March 13th conditions. And as I said, we don't have a timeline for that. We do not know what that trajectory will look like for our county, for our state. But we do know that at some point, we will be able to navigate to gradually bring students back to school in a safe manner. And that's what we wanted to illustrate in this phasing process, where you'll see that in phase 2, there's opportunity, some limited opportunity for in-person instruction and support for targeted students, knowing that we have different student populations that we really need to be innovative and thinking about how we can best serve them, not just academically, but also in terms of their social and emotional well-being. And when we talk about those subgroups, you can see that we've listed some of them here: our students with disabilities, our homeless and foster youth, our English learners. We know that grade transitions are critical, TK and K students, 6th grade for middle school. Those are all groups that we know have some specialized needs based on their background and their context for school. Then moving into phase 3, which is differentiated between middle school and elementary school. And the reason for that is, again, our district action team looking at the Santa Clara County Public Health guidance and determining what would be the best approach for each one based on the guidance at this time. And so you see here at middle school, and we'll get into more detail with what that looks like, but we have a distance learning program with small group tutorials, again, focused on specialized targeted groups of students. With elementary school, we have a launch of a hybrid model with an A-B cohort, which is 2 days of in-person instruction and 3 days with continued distance learning for our students at that level. Again, we had different sets of guidance from the public health department, and that's what we felt we could develop. Now, we do show on here 2 other pieces of critical information. One is a tentative, and I want to emphasize tentative, phase 3 launch of September 28th. So know that that is 6 weeks into the school year. We understand the challenges of of planning as a family, planning and coordinating that for a household, and but again, we'll go into why we felt that it was important for day 1 for us to begin in a distance learning format. But also know that that September 28th date is also a tentative date, because again, we've learned, if we've learned nothing else, is that living through the pandemic, there's continual change, continual health data, continual change in guidance from our county, from the state level. We know that there's more guidance to come in the next few weeks already that could bring about elements of change to this current plan that we're proposing. And then again, we've received this question from many families: is there an opportunity for me to simply select a 100% distance learning plan? Whichever model the district lands on, we know that for various circumstances, as a family, a 100% distance learning plan would be best for our child. And yes, that will be made available throughout this process. And, AB 77 and SB 98 at the state level provided that option to families that we will ensure that we put in place for you. So then again, just to kind of quickly highlight some of the rationale behind the phased-in approach, emphasizing that as we transition back to school for that first day, it will be a full distance learning model for all students across our district. Knowing that health and safety is first and foremost as priority for us in terms of how we cautiously and safely transition across these phases moving forward. Also know that our staffing capacity is also something that we have to consider as we look at what we're able to provide and implement. Again, reiterating, 100% distance learning option will be made available to families. We also have intent of prioritizing in-person learning for targeted subgroups of students. And just to kind of, again, re-emphasize, well, what's going to happen in addition to the distance learning at the start of the year, so that we continue to set a foundation for success as we navigate all of the different models that could be potentials as we go through the 2021 school year. So I do want to emphasize, to everyone that when we started with distance learning last spring, it was a significant learning curve for everyone. And there's been a great deal of reflection, and the feedback from families was wonderful. Thank you for all of your suggestions on how we can improve and scale distance learning. We also had wonderful feedback from all of our teachers and support staff in the classroom and outside the classroom on more ways that we can continue to engage our students when it comes to distance learning. And so just know that, what distance learning looked like in the spring we've all learned and we've grown, and we're going to continue to pursue our professional learning in that area to be able to provide a strong program for all of our students. And I know, again, as we had focus groups with teachers, especially, and our school site administrators, everyone misses our students. Everyone would like nothing more than to be back in the classroom and to have our students with us, being able to work with our families as we did traditionally. But right now, we also have to consider everyone's safety, but also thinking about the well-being. And that's what we'll be focusing on in the first few weeks of school. We want to be sure that we're continuing to monitor our safety provisions as they arrive, so that we can define what our safety protocols and logistics will be, so that when we get to those next leveled opportunities of bringing students back to school, those safeguards are clear and that everybody knows what's expected of them in implementing those safeguards. But we also know that social emotional well-being of our students was critical. I do want to share that in having our focus groups with teachers, they were very cognizant of student mental health and the needs that our students had for connecting with their students, as were our school site principals. And there's lots of ideas around how we can engage with our families and with our students virtually, and being able to provide, some social emotional support, as well as being better at establishing, what our expectations are for everyone, and, implementing digital citizenship, assessing our students so that we gauge where they are to be able to support them moving forward to the best way that we can. And with that, I'm watching the time, so I know it's 5:30 already, and we did want to commit for Q&A. I am going to ask Dr. McCreary to quickly just go through the schedule so we can get to Q&A.
My mute button. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Joe McCreary, Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services. So we put together a couple of sample schedules for you. So I wanted to review them with you real quickly. I know there's a lot of questions that are popping up, and hopefully we'll answer some right here. So this is a traditional sample model of what distance learning would look like for the elementary students. A couple of things right off the top is there will be morning check-ins with all students. So that would happen at the beginning of the day. Teachers would be checking in with students, perhaps 8:30 to 9 a.m. And then they'll have 3 teaching blocks throughout the day. So we're saying from 9 to 10, they would have their first teaching block where they could do where they could do a mini lesson, 10 to 15-minute lesson, assign some work, check in with students. There would be a recess break from about 10 to 10:15. There would be another teaching block, a little longer than the first one, from 10:15 to 11:45. Same kind of idea there. Language arts, math, social studies, science. And then there's a lunch break, 11:45 to 12:45. And then an additional teaching block in the afternoon from about 12:45 to 2. In the afternoon as well, there's also going to be check-ins with students. So that also is incorporated into the schedule. And if you look at Wednesdays, you'll see that there'll be more small group instruction. So students will be pulled in with their teachers on a small group rotation so that they can be given specific guidance on some of their materials. That would happen 2 times during the day, and then the teacher prep staff meetings and professional development in the afternoons. So once again, this is a sample schedule for our TK and Kinder students. It would be a shorter day, and there's a lot of opportunity for students and teachers to interact with the curriculum, Saw a lot of questions about being able to pick up the curriculum as well. So we do have access to textbooks and workbooks. Next slide. So you can see that this is the sample for our hybrid model, which is very similar to the distance learning model. The biggest difference here is the students would be separated into 2 cohorts. So you would have half of the class in cohort A and the other half of the class in cohort B. And so the cohort A part of the class would be coming into school 2 days a week and doing distance learning 3 days a week. So they would be coming in on Mondays and Tuesdays. And on Thursdays and Fridays, cohort B would be coming into school and they would be receiving their distance learning 3 days a week. You can see on Wednesdays, there will be no students at the school, but we still continue to have a morning check-in with all students. The teaching blocks are still in place and more small group interaction on Wednesdays. So that's the big difference between the hybrid and the distance learning model for elementary. And then the next slide reviews our middle school middle school schedule, which is distance learning as well. So you can see here that school would start approximately 8:30, go to 8:40 and have a homeroom. We'd have 3 periods a day. Monday would incorporate first period, second period, and third period with the times there. And then they would have an advisory period where they could be the teachers could be checking in social, emotionally well-being, giving advice, having discussions about what's working, what's not working, giving them a little bit more time to interact with each other. And then you could see from 12 to 1 would be our lunchtime. After lunch, teachers would be available to pull in small groups, specifically to review some concepts that were taught in the morning, where they could be monitoring and helping support students who were struggling. And then you also see on Wednesdays look very similar to what we did this year with Thursdays. So teacher prep in the morning, 2 times to pull in small groups, the same break in the afternoon, a 3rd time to pull in small groups. And we're gonna have that same advisory time on Wednesdays so that all students are being checked in at the same time, Monday through Friday. And then once again on Wednesday afternoons are the teacher prep, PD, and staff meetings. So this is a sample schedule. Once again, they would be synchronous and asynchronous. So for example, lessons would be taught, assignments would be given, and then checking in the afternoons would be a priority.
Thank you, Dr. McCreary. Well, I know we have a lot of questions coming through the chat and also the Q&A feature of the presentation. I want to start by just acknowledging that we won't be able to get to all of your questions, but it's very helpful for you to ask them and to put them in the chat box and the Q&A so that we can incorporate your thoughts and feedback into our planning process. So thank you for engaging with us there. We will do our best to address as many questions as we can. Also recognizing that we don't have all the details and we might not be able to get to very detailed questions. So I'd like to start with Dr. Fuentes. There was a slide that showed the phases. Could we go back to that, Dr. Fuentes, if you wouldn't mind, where we can see phase 1 through 4. There were a number of people who could not see at the very bottom of your screen underneath the arrow, the red text. Is there a way to yes, so can we show that language underneath there? There we go. 100% full distance learning alternative program option available to all families. I wanted you to talk about that because a lot of parents are asking, well, 1, they couldn't see it, and then 2, they wanted to just confirm that that was an option available to everyone. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and there's been some evolving clarification also on this option, both from our state and county level. So I do want to be clear that full distance learning, a 100% program for full distance learning is available to families to request. We know that families are going to have different situations in their home. Maybe you have a child that has various health conditions that you're concerned concerned about and you'd like your child to be home, let's say families are affected with COVID-19 or have a family member affected with COVID-19, and you need to quarantine as a family, as well as families feeling that they're at risk, and there's multiple reasons why a family could feel that they're at risk and will want to choose to self-quarantine during this period. So through AB 77, there is provision for families to make this request. So there's quite a few sets of conditions that make this allowable. I know that earlier, some of you may have observed some county guidance about a doctor's note being required. I do want to provide clarification to our families that a doctor's note is not required. And what we will be doing is we will be sending out a form to all of our families who want to opt in to a 100% full distance learning program for a minimum of the first semester, because we do want to continue, as I said, to get deeper into what our families' interests are for the start of the school year to help inform our continued planning as we move through this school year.
Dr. Fuentes, many people through this chat are asking about when the final decision will be made. I understand that this is the proposal, right, to the Board of Trustees. Can you tell us more about what's the timing for this to be approved? Because people, at least some of the comments in the chat, people want some specifics around timing.
Okay, thank you. So yes, so tomorrow we do have a special board meeting with our Board of Trustees. You're seeing an abbreviated version of the full presentation that will be provided to our board, and we'll be seeking board approval for this phased-in approach, knowing that any plan presented to any board at this time is subject to change. There's so many different variables, but again, this is our best thinking for now, and we want to be able to move forward with the first day of school, knowing that we'll be in a full distance learning start of the year.
And Dr. Fuentes, can you remind everyone here, when is the first official day of school
Yes.
for those of us who don't know?
Yes, the first day of school is Monday, August 17th for the children.
Wonderful. Some people have been asking about the first day of school and confirming that everyone will start on a full distance learning model. That's for everyone.
That is for everyone throughout our district, yes.
And do you have an idea of when we would go to phase 2, or what would trigger phase 2? Is there a criteria? That's something that people have asked as well.
So some of that will be evolving guidance that we're expecting to see from the county as well, because as I said, we're in a unique place currently right now as we think about our pandemic and how it's been evolving. And so there are some adjustments coming from the state, coming from the county level that we hope to glean over the next few weeks that'll better inform the way that we can move forward. But another important piece also is the different safeguards that we need to have in place to be able to bring even small groups of children back in place. We've done extensive ordering of PPE and various, safety equipment for disinfecting, all of those kinds of procurements that have not all arrived yet. And so, we're monitoring that, we're putting that in place, because that also is another factor in being able to bring everyone back to school and back to their work site safely.
Now, Dr. Fuentes, you talked about the first day of school being around the corner, August 17th, as you said. What kind of support might be in place to help us transition to that new model for those who are new or who want to, maximize, the learning opportunities in distance learning? Folks are asking about support. Can
And that's one of the reasons why we're bringing our proposal now to our Board of Trustees, is to be able to provide us that time to focus on a model and get everyone geared up, whether that's professional learning opportunities, for teachers, being able to give them their time that they need for planning. Also, helping with the social emotional support that maybe our children need, transitioning back into that, back into the start of school in a distance learning modality. I do want to remind our families that we do have mental health supports year round. We've launched Care Solace back in the spring. That continues to be a viable outreach of support for families today as we speak, and for a variety of different issues and needs around social and emotional well-being. But then also, we're also developing a variety of training and supports, not just for teachers, but for our parents as well, because they're critical partners, and we got excellent feedback from them regarding supports that they felt they needed at home last spring in distance learning and trying to help their children be successful. And so we're putting modules together for them as well.
Thank you so much. Dr. Fuentes, one of the things that I am seeing here within the chat, people would like to know whether the distance learning, how will it be different? Will there be more Zoom or virtual, live classes? I've seen a number of comments around that. One parent suggested, will we be able to have a schedule that mirrors what it was like to be in school? I think they alluded to sort of the timing, right? How much time? So can you talk a little bit about that? I don't know if it's too early, but I certainly would like to throw out that question.
Sure. And again, like I said, there's been a great deal of reflection from, our teachers, our principals, from families in terms of feedback on distance learning and what that could look like as we continue to improve what we do. I know Dr. McCurry can certainly share more around that, but one of the next steps, in addition to the safety pieces, is also having ongoing conversations with our staff and being able to help them be part of that process as we define what these schedules look like and what instruction is going to look like. And we'll be sure to continue to provide updates to our community as those conversations evolve. And I know Dr. McCurry can also share more about what was discussed with the district action teams and the work groups as they were thinking through what this might look like.
So a couple of things that popped up when I'm reading the comments too is that a lot of what we've been talking about in those teaching blocks, for example, it's not going to be the students on the computer for the whole hour or the whole hour and a half. It's going to be more of a shortened lesson that the teachers are going to be presenting, and then working with small groups of students within that time. And this past summer, we've had a really extremely positive experience with our summer school program. So we're going to be taking into consideration how we can learn from what we did over the summer and be able to acclimate all of our teachers into that, so that they can then be able to do lessons with the whole class, do small group interactions. And that's not only in the elementary level, but also at the middle school level. So we also are going to make sure that they have access to the workbooks and the other things that also will not be screen time for 6 whole hours a day. So those are also considerations that we're working through.
Thank you, Dr. McCreary. There are a number of different comments that have been made by parents, including how do you deal with extracurriculars, from music to sports to science? How do you envision that, as that's part of what you normally offer?
Right. And I know I'll let Dr. McCurry speak to that too, but also just know, I think guidance is evolving around that as well. And one of the considerations with middle school for having middle school be in a distance learning format was because the guidance that we received from Santa Clara County Public Health Department did not allow band, orchestra, or choir to occur in any capacity in person. So, when having those discussions, and I know our music teachers especially had significant feedback in the teacher surveys about software and other avenues of how they could improve music instruction online. And so really thinking about that, in advance. And so we wanted to be able to continue to provide those extracurriculars. Now, with sports and athletics, we still have not received guidance from Santa Clara County Public Health. They did say that it's in development, and they would be providing that to us soon. So I don't have a date of when that's coming, but we do know that. Many people also may have heard that our PE instructional minutes have been waived, but it does not discount the time that we still need to do for PE. That is still, critical content that we need to provide to students, and Dr. McCurry can talk more about those things.
So the question about electives, for sure that our middle school students will be able to take electives. Will they be different than what they have been in the past? Absolutely. So I know I work specifically with our elementary music teachers and our elementary PE teachers. So we have been working collaboratively this past spring on what that is going to look like. So we have to be creative, because a lot of what we do with our electives at the elementary, or not electives, but music program, is we pull kids out during the day and they commingle with other students at their grade levels. So that's something that we aren't going to be able to do through a distance learning model or with a cohort model. So we are going to have to put our heads together. And like Dr. Fuentes had mentioned, our music teachers are very active, sharing their best practices and what they can do to make those music classes really come alive. As far as PE, same kind of deal, is we'll have to do a lot of PE live lessons and trying to figure out the best way to help our students, especially 4th and 5th grade and middle school, get the exercise and all those different activities that they need in order to be physically active.
Thank you. A number of people have asked about kindergartners. Can we talk a little bit about kindergartners? Will they, how will we get them started? How do we get them to learn about the start of school? And do they have the same timing? Would they be starting school on the same date as the entire school district? Lots of parents of kindergartners want to know.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone's first day of school is August 17th. So, so that is not adjusted by grade level. It's the same for everyone. And yes, TK and kindergarten and, just our young learners have been a big part of our conversations, and they're definitely a targeted group for us in terms of how do we welcome them to school, some of them for the first time. What does that look like? Especially even, when we think about in-person opportunities, the way, we, so many of the activities for our early learners, something as simple as, sharing school materials, sharing paints and crayons, and, playing with blocks and things of that nature are things that, are limited activities now, even for in-person options. But we, I know that our principals and our TK and K teachers are a creative group. And I know that all of them, especially when we listen to our TK and K teachers, they just, I know everybody's heart melts thinking about our little ones, and not having them in front of us, as we traditionally have in the past, and thinking about how can we creatively welcome them to school, help them build that community with their teacher, that connection with their teacher, and also orientation, with their families. And that's where I think Dr. McCurry can get into more detail, but that's an ongoing conversation and has definitely been of interest for principals, teachers, as well as the district.
So this morning we had a meeting with our elementary principals, and we were just having these same conversations about how we can support kindergarten and TK, transitional kindergarten students coming into our schools, along with sixth grade at the middle schools. So we definitely have put our heads together on what that's going to look like. I know there's been some questions about teacher assignments and reaching out earlier. So we've talked a lot about that. We also have been considering having some kind of back to school night before school starts, especially for our little guys who would be starting kindergarten and TK, so that parents and students could see the classroom, could see everything that they would be seeing in person, but also understand all of the different components of what kindergarten would look like and how to support their students throughout those first couple of weeks of school. And I think Perla also asked about the timing of kindergarten. So with kindergarten and transitional kindergarten, they do not have the same requirements as the instructional minutes. So they do have a ending time that's a little shorter than the rest of the regular elementary classes. And so I think that schedule that I proposed would then have them ending TK and kindergarten around 1 o'clock, 1:30. And I know our TK and kindergarten teachers want to meet specifically to talk about how they can transition their students into the classroom. So I'll be reaching out to the TK and kinder teachers soon to hear their suggestions on what could work, and doing kindergarten assessments and all of those good things that happen before school even starts with our youngest students.
Dr. McCreary, you touched upon a question that's come up, which is the instructional minutes and how long the day would be. Can you talk a little bit about that by grade level, elementary versus middle, and the younger group as well?
So I think there was a slide, Dr. Fuentes, if you can move to that one slide that reviews the instructional minutes that we, oh, it's not on this slide.
Yeah,
but
that'll be presented tomorrow at our board meeting.
Right. Okay, so for TK and kinder, our instructional minutes are 180 minutes at a minimum. First through third, I think it's 230 minutes, and fourth through eighth grade is 240 minutes. So we try to create the schedule around those minimum times, but also knowing that students are going to need some extra support, especially students, and I have a lot of questions about students with IEPs and special education. So we're also looking at making sure that we provide opportunities for students who need that extra support to come in once we have figured out how we get from phase 1 to phase 2, and then eventually from phase 2 to phase 3. And so we're building in those minutes specifically to help our students who need the most support.
So once again, someone asked to repeat the number of educational minutes. You said 180 for TK and kinder, 230 for first through third, I think it was you said?
Correct.
And 240 for the grade levels above.
You got it. And you can see on the middle school schedule that there is time in the afternoon for small group tutorials, but that's also time for students to be working on their assignments that were given at the beginning of the day. So just because it says small group tutorials doesn't mean that there's going to be assignments, and school ends after lunch. They're also going to have to work through their assignments that were given by their teachers at the beginning of the day.
Can you talk about the size of a class or a cohort? That has come up a few times.
Sure.
And also, I know that there's the distance learning class size. Maybe is there a different class size for in person that you're planning for? How does that work?
Right. So for distance learning, we're going to start the year off with our traditional class sizes. So all students, TK all the way through third grade is up to 24. and fourth through eighth grade, all the way up to 30, 31. And so those would be your traditional class sizes at the beginning of the year. If we move to when we move to phase 3, we would then divide the class in half. So half of the class, be it 12 for the smaller grades, and then 15 for the upper grades, but not including middle school. Those would be the kids that would be coming into class. And so for the 2 days in person and the 3 days distance learning. And so at middle school, we're still working through our middle school hybrid model, but at this point, we're really considering distance learning for the majority. So at that point, all students would then be assigned to their teacher based on the 30-to-1 ratio.
Mhm. So as we approach, it's 5:56, I want to acknowledge that we're going to extend the time a little bit for the town hall to accommodate a few more questions. But I do want to move the conversation a little bit away from the day-to-day schedule conversations to more about the next steps and parent input. At some point earlier in the conversation, there were a lot of questions about the parent focus groups that happen and how do you get to be part of one, you know, how are you including parents in the conversation? And I'd like for you to talk about this elaborate process that you've taken to take parent input, and then also what will be future opportunities for parents to weigh in as this is rolled out, because this is clearly, there's a lot of work ahead between now and August 17th.
Yes, so thank you. So just to share, you know, we've had, you know, 2 parent focus group opportunities, sort of, I think, midway as our district action team was doing their planning based off of the surveys, which, you know, again, surveys are critical points of gathering information for us. We were pleased with the first survey that we had, you know, 2,000 plus responses. That certainly, though, is still not everyone in our district. So we'd love to see those counts get higher, as we did with this second survey, which were close to 3,000, which is wonderful. You know, so that's one main venue. The parent focus groups that we've had, the first focus group were comprised of parent leaders across our district. So we have different parent organizations that support all of our families across the district. So, you know, different leaders, our district advisory council has a parent chair, so they were part of it. Our English learner student groups have their own committee, the DLAC, and so the parent chair of that committee was part of the focus group, and individuals like that are president of all the PTA organizations for North Valley Council PTA was part of that focus group. So trying to get a balance of, you know, not only parent leaders, but also representatives of different subgroups of students. And then also just last week, I had the opportunity to meet with every PTA president that was available. You know, it was an open invitation to all PTA presidents and parent leaders of homeschool club, you know, that sort of thing. So we're trying to make more time for those meetings as well, because we know that they're great leaders and have strong networks of parents that ask them questions and, you know, seek accuracy of information. And then we also knew that you know, the town halls, this has been new for us, right? This is just our second one, but this has been another great opportunity for us to extend ourselves to more people. And then finally, also knowing that people are going to have sometimes broad questions, but also sometimes very specific individual family questions. That's where we created the BUSD engagement page, you know, on our district website. We're taking a look at those questions multiple times during the week. If some of the questions are specific, we're referring them to different department leaders so they can give the family a phone call and respond to their question directly. Or if they're broader questions, we're putting them into our FAQ and providing responses there. As we get closer to school, we also know that there's, you know, increased need for more communication, as always, and that's to be expected and is understood. And so we want to, moving forward, continue to provide additional updates on where we are in this process as these schedules get refined. As we work, with our teachers, we'll continue to provide, updates to parents so they have a clearer picture of what they can expect for the first day.
And Dr. Fuentes, because you and I work very closely together on a lot of these things, I know that the board meeting is happening tomorrow, but there will be an update to the entire Berryessa community about what's decided. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so definitely we know that this is a significant decision point in this planning process. And I say decision point because we know, again, everything is very fluid. This is a very fluid situation, and we can have another point in time where, again, critical decisions are being made. So we know that not everyone can attend our board meeting, but our presentation for tomorrow is already posted publicly. It's widely posted on our website. We invite those who can attend to be part of that meeting along with us. And then the next morning, based on our board's input and what direction they provide to us, we'll provide our community as a whole an update on Thursday of what those decisions were and what our next steps will be.
Thank you so much. There are so many different questions that we'd like to get to this evening, but we simply won't. I would like to remind everyone that the district has created a page on the website where you can ask questions, and we also have posted frequently asked questions and answers. And so this presentation will be posted there, as well as this live recording. It will be there for you to review as many times as you might need. We will continue to add on to the frequently asked questions and answers. And so this is a great resource for you if you miss something, or you would like to share this with another parent that might not have been able to attend this evening. We also post there the email blasts or the email updates that are sent to the community. So all
and I see that Perla is frozen at the moment, so she's having some technical difficulties. So I'll jump right in and just finish off her thoughts, which was that, this place is where we're providing all of our updates. We're having all of our communications, our newsletters that evolve around reopening of schools will be there, our town halls, the evolving FAQ. We wanted to be able to find one place for all of you to get the information that you need regarding reopening. But also, we encourage you to continue to share with us your comments, your suggestions, as well as, questions.
Thank you. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Yes, okay. Wonderful. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. So parent, community, staff, and everyone who's been here with us this evening, we want to thank you for all of your many questions and comments. They will be reviewed very closely throughout this process. We are preparing for tomorrow's board meeting. That will be an important decision point, as Dr. Fuentes said. And we want to just thank you for your patience with this process. I know that the Berryessa Union School District team has been working around the clock, putting a lot of time and effort to creating the best plans possible. Unfortunately, this pandemic has us in a position where things are changing day to day. And so we ask for your continued patience as things continue to change on a daily basis. And if I could add a little PSA in there, it is so important that all of us continue to take all of the safety precautions that are being recommended, from wearing, a face mask to social distancing to sheltering in place at home. The more we adopt these practices, the sooner we'll all be able to be in a position where we can get back to a more closer to what our normal lives were prior. All of us, I would say, we're in this together, and it is very difficult for us as parents and also for our children to be at home. We all recognize that, and I think that I speak on behalf of the team that we look forward to the day where we can all be together once again, but we really all have to put our best foot forward and work together so that we can get this pandemic under control. And so I had to say that because it's so important, especially right now. Dr. Fuentes, there are endless questions. I know we want to get to all of them. We simply won't be able to. I'd like to thank everyone for participating tonight. We've had over 850 participants through the course of this evening. And I think a lot of great information was shared. And I know there's more to come. Many people ask, will there be a future town hall meeting? Can we answer that question?
I would anticipate yes. I would absolutely anticipate yes. Again, we want to be, we want to provide as much outreach at this time. I just want to reiterate, we understand, the frustration and the challenge that everyone has felt and continues to feel as we navigate, again, a situation none of us have ever been in before. And so we're grateful, for your support and for, your questions and your suggestions, because, we do want to emphasize, as I've been here in Berryessa and have learned so much about our community does rise to the occasion. We've seen that time and time again, and I know everyone has good intent and the best intent for our students to ensure that they continue to learn and, and that they're strong emotionally. We all have that goal for them, and we'll continue to develop our plans to ensure that for our students.
Dr. Fuentes, tomorrow's board meeting presentation, is that already available on the district website? Some people have asked for it. Okay.
Yes, it is.
So once again, we would like to thank you for participating tonight. There's more information available about our planning for the fall on our website, which will be presented at tomorrow's board meeting. We thank you for your participation this evening and look forward to being able to later in this week immediately update you as to the board's decision and the rollout of the next steps so that we can all be prepared for August 17th. So please mark your calendar for August 17th. That is the start date, and more information will be coming as the date approaches. And we look forward to working together in new ways, new and unexpected, but collaborative ways to help and support all of our students and families. So once again, thank you for participating. Have a great evening, and we will be in touch with you later this week with more information. Dr. Fuentes?
Yes, thank you again, and thank you to our Berryessa community for being here with us this evening. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.